So, can you hear me?
I can't, no, but no, we'll be hopefully in a minute. Go on.
I'm speaking now.
No,
The volume up.
my volume is up, but I'm not getting you yet. Doesn't mean it's not coming through though.
Might be just a delay.
Let's check preferences. In case we're not. Oh yes, I can now.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, is it clear? It's not,
Yes.
it's not distorting too much? Not distorting at all? No? It's okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
All right. Hi everyone that's there. We're just setting up. We're going to be starting in a couple of minutes. So thanks for coming along. We'll see you in a bit. Mute it. Hello everyone, welcome along to this online induction masterclass. It's great to have you come along. I've got a lot of students starting this term, so hopefully it's going to be a busy session. As you can see, obviously there's a chat area on the right hand side, and just to introduce myself, my name's Ski Oakenfold. I'm the head of curriculum here at Point Blank, and I'm also joined by my colleagues Graham and Chris. I don't know if you can see them in the background. Hi. Fantastic. They're on the dev team. Together we basically kind of put together all the content of the courses. We populate the VLE. We kind of manage everything, make sure it's all up to date, get all the tutorial videos done that you'll be enjoying over the class. So yeah, as I said, feel free to ask questions. We'll kind of try to answer them periodically, and also if there are too many questions, then we'll note them down and we'll make sure that we get back to you. It's also worth noting that we'll be archiving this, so we'll be posting this back on the area, and we can send you a link of where it's going to be, so anyone that doesn't manage to actually see it can watch it back. So yeah, what are we going to do today? We're going to take you through the VLE. The VLE stands for the Virtual Learning Environment, and this is your main medium for study, and it's really essential that you get to know it well. You will naturally anyway, because you're going to be accessing your course notes and everything from this, but there's a lot of things that you can do with the VLE. So as I said, you can access your course notes. So this is on a weekly basis. You'll be reading through the notes and studying. There'll also be tutorial videos to watch and various exercises. It will also be a way for you to watch your weekly masterclasses and book slots for those book slots for the one-to-one sessions you'll be having, which happen in week 2, 4, 6, 8 and 11. It's also a way for you to submit your assignment work. This is very, very important indeed, and I'll be taking you through that process and where that happens. And finally, it enables you to communicate with your instructor and also your fellow students, your peers, through the forum, and also the messaging system as well. So it fulfills a number of roles. It's an informal session. As I said, there's a chat, so feel free to ask questions. And yeah, we'll start off as looking at the VLE and looking at the different sections. So before I start, is there anything pressing that's come in, guys? No? Any questions at this stage?
We have one.
Yeah.
Actually, it's come through, which is about doing the Tractor Pro online course.
Yep.
Gareth was asking, he's been told not to worry about getting any specific controllers, but in the course notes it says otherwise. So he'd like to be able to discuss that with his instructor. He
can definitely discuss that with the instructor and also any of the course advisors as well, or email support@pointblankmusicschool.com to find out more about that.
Right, we've also got a question about Ableton Live 9.
Right.
The discount. And the 40% discount off Ableton Suite.
Right.
Which I don't know about, but I expect there is a discount.
Again, contact support.
Yeah.
They'll be able to tell you about that, about how those discounts work. I think there is some information actually on the VLE about that. So, okay, right. I'm going to crack on with this. Let's just go to the main page here. So this is where you would log in. I've actually logged in already. So once you do log in, you get this. If you just hover over this menu item here, it says My Home. And in this menu, you'll see a number of items, a list, study essentials, the library, essential program information. This actually says My London courses because this is a special account for this thing. But for you guys, it will just say My Online courses and then Edit Profile. So you can either access these menu items just by clicking on them directly here, or you can just click on My Home and you'll see them appear in this section here. Now, the first thing you need to do before you start is go to the Edit Profile section. So I'm going to click on that now. There we go. And it's very important, this is the first thing you do. So I'm just going to get rid of this window here. So, number one thing to do is upload your profile picture, your avatar. It's really good for you to have your picture up there so that your classmates can see what you look like. You don't have to, but I would recommend it. It just kind of personalizes the whole feel of the class. So I'm just going to do that now. You can either click on this area here and just choose a file, or you can just drag a picture down there, and I'm just dragging that down there. There we go. And there's a picture of me with a tree behind me on holiday. So I hope you can see that. So the next thing is, obviously there's your details here. So put your name in. If you're a Mr., Mrs., whatever, you can put that in. And your date of birth, just your address, email address as well. Now the next really, really important thing is that you put in your time zone. So the reason that's important is because with the online class, everything will be set, all the times will be set to your particular time zone. So when, for example, your instructor proposes some time slots for your one-to-one, you don't want to see those time slots in the time zone of London if you're in Australia. You want to see them in your time zone. Everything, it's a very clever system we've got, everything kind of adapts. So please make sure that you set the correct time zone. I think it defaults to Greenwich Mean Time, so make sure you go ahead and do that. The next thing that's very important are your notifications. Now with notifications, if, say for example, your instructor posts an announcement in your classroom, or you have, or if we send out a reminder for your assignment deadline or anything like that, any kind of thing that might be posted in the VLE, you'll get an email notification, but you won't get one if you don't have these checked. So I highly recommend just checking them all. They should default as being all checked, but it's worth actually just sort of unchecking them and checking them just in case, just to make sure, because we don't want you missing out on any important stuff. And then finally, you can change your password if you want to, and when you've done that, make sure you click on Submit. So there we go, so that's been updated. Okay, the next thing to look at are the study essentials. This is all kind of before we get into your actual kind of modules and your classroom. So the study essentials, this is essentially foundation curriculum. And as soon as you've enrolled, as you will all have done now, you can access this. And it serves a sort of number of purposes. First of all, I'm sure you're all really keen to get studying as soon as possible. So this is actual sort of content. A lot of it's taken from some of our online classes. that might not be part of your program as well. But there's lots of tutorial videos. You can see at the top here we've got using the VLE, and there's one for our campus students here in London and also one for you. Obviously you want to be looking at the online students one, and we'll be taking you through every page of that in a minute. But you've got Ableton Live Essentials, Logic Pro. If you're really someone that's coming in with no prior experience or knowledge of any of this software, then this is a really good place to start, because you can just get going and learn some of the terminology. We've got other things such as music theory essentials. So again, if you've never studied music theory and you just want to get a basic idea, it may be that with a bit of music theory it might help your study of Logic or Ableton. So that's there for you. Now, one that's here that we feel is very important are the essay writing essentials. So for a lot of you, you'll be on modules that will have essays in, or essays that you need to write. And especially for the accredited students, it's really important that you understand how to write an essay and use everything at your disposal to write a brilliant essay that's going to get a good grade. So in this section here, we've got content about the stages of writing an essay. Let's just kind of flick through these so we can see. Building your motivation to write the essay, learning how to interpret the question. There are a number of different types of essays you can write. It could be a reflective essay, it could be a critical analysis. It's important that you understand the difference between those, and we have some video tutorials here which talk about that. There's also content on plagiarism, and also how to reference properly using Harvard referencing. So I highly recommend that you go through this section and watch all these videos, especially if you're writing an essay. Even if you're not writing an essay, it's still brilliant content. Few more sections here. Point blank talks. So in our London campus we have regular guests that come in to do masterclasses, and we film all those masterclasses and we put them in this area here, point blank talks. And this is the archive here. You can see it's really building up. The latest one we've had is a guy, Ben Burrell. Did you guys work on the video for Ben Burrell?
Yeah, that was Spectre, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, check out those. There's some fantastic content, and these are all people that are actually in the industry and have got loads of experience to give. So please check those out. And then finally, this is very important, is the essential well-being section. So this is going through sort of the support that we provide for our students, and just very kind of useful to be aware of. We're very, very sensitive to what it's like to be a student and the challenges that students face on a day-to-day basis, and also in the wider picture as well. We want you to make the most out of your experience at Point Blank, and we don't want anything to stand in your way. So there's loads of great resources here. Graham, my colleague here, has put this together. So please have a look through that. It's there to support you. Okay, so just going back to the My Home section. What else have we got here? So we got My Online Courses. So this is where you go to actually do your studying. And if you click on that, you'll see the list of the modules that are actually in your program. And we'll go into those in a minute and see them. But you can see here the one in orange there that's highlighted, Creative Audio, Logic and Sound Design. This is the current term, and then the next term, the September term 24, starting on the 24th of September, which is next week, is orange here. And you can see the previous, you'll be able to see the previous modules that you've studied and the ones in the future as well. So we'll go into that in a minute, and we'll start taking a look around what it looks like to actually kind of go into a course. But I also want to highlight one other section, or two other sections actually, which is this essential program information and the library. So let's just go into the essential program information first. So alongside the study essentials, this is an area that you will have access to now. And this gives you all the kind of really important information that you need to know about what it is to study at Point Blank. Some of the information is specifically for London students, but there's a lot of information that will apply to you too. So let's just open up these different sections and just have a quick look through. And actually this is hot off the press because this used to be called a different area. It used to be the student information modules. It's now a bit more visible and it's now in the menu. So, and this literally is a feature that's been introduced in the last hour. So very exciting. So just on the start here section, you've got Welcome to Point Blank Music School. There's a video from me, and then college contacts. So here are all the contacts, email addresses, a couple of telephone numbers as well. So if you just want to get in touch with someone, please go here. And you'll see here student services. This is manned by Hannah, and it's support@pointblankmusicschool.com. So this is kind of a general email that will get looked at. Everything, there's a ticketing system, so any inquiry to that will get looked at. We've got you as a student, so this is where you can read the student charter, look at the student representatives or the student voice leaders as they're now called. There's some information about getting your music heard, our record label, the support and well-being, various kind of things that we offer at Point Blank. There's information on academic information. So this is to do with your assignments and how they're marked, the grading criteria, think with the rubrics. I'll talk about this in a minute. Getting certificates. Again, if you're an accredited student, you're on the BA or DIP-HE, Cert-HE, and there's some information about Middlesex, which is our accrediting partner. Various information about the resources. There's some timetable planners which are just being updated as we speak. They should be ready in the next day or so. So that'll give you, if you're on a program, that'll give you an overview of when the deadlines are for your assignments. Some of this is more for the London College and studio access, policies, but please just check out all this stuff when you get a chance. It's really useful. So I'm just going to have a quick pause now where I turn the page in my notes and just see if there are any questions that have come in.
No, I think everyone's riveted.
Right.
It's in fact what's happening.
Fantastic. All right. Well, in that case, don't stop asking questions if you want to ask a question. But I'm going to go back to the study essentials section that I mentioned earlier. And we're going to go to the using the VLE section. So if you haven't looked at this and you're a new student, please do check it out. I'm going to be taking you through this section now. There are 3 sections to this: introducing the VLE, interaction, and submitting your work. So I'm going to just close this tab here, just so that's out of the way. Great, and I'm just going to open these in the tabs here. There we go. So I'm just going to take you through this page by page. So we've got introducing the VLE. This is just a brief introduction of what it is, and actually this is the masterclass that you're watching now. This is where we'll be posting it. As soon as this is finished, we'll be posting the most recent one there. This is the last one we did. Not too many things have changed, but you may have watched that already. And I'm there with Bryony. She's on the program admin team, and we're both wearing Point Blank t-shirts. Free software license information. So there you go. Someone asked about that before. And there's a bit of information, and also it says that if you do want to find out more information, you can email support@pointblankmusicschool.com. How to complete this guide. So as I said, there are 3 different sections, and what you'll notice as you go through there are some task boxes. So this is just signposting little tasks for you to do, just to familiarise yourself with the process. So if you do see one, try and carry it out. Now the first thing you need to do I think I've said there's a lot of first things you need to do. One of the first things you need to do is to introduce yourself. So this is just a questionnaire. It will just go through where you live, the types of music you're into, what kind of level you think you are, what software you're using. Please fill that out and that will be displayed on your profile. Oops, I don't want to submit that yet. There we go. Okay, so logging into your homepage. Well, we've gone through this and we've talked about the different sections. So this is something just to remind you about that. In fact, we need to add the essential program information to there as well because that's such a new thing. And I've shown you there the current modules, how they appear, how they look. And there's a task box there, enter your module. So that's something that we're going to do in a minute. And actually, I'm going to open another window and we're going to do that. We're going to go into a program. So let's go to a past one here. We've got Intro to Music Production Logic. So this is one from the April term. So as you can see, I just clicked on that and we've now entered the classroom. So this is what it will look like. This is the landing page, as we like to call it, and it goes to the schedule. And this is where you will get notifications at the top. This, you can see here, this course is finished because it was an April one. There are some notifications here, the fact there are some unread forum posts, and you can click directly on those to read them. There's also the calendar. So this is a great feature. You can actually hover over the cells here of the days and it will tell you what week that is. There are also some icons here. So you can see here, this icon means there's a one-to-one tutorial. And there's these icons here indicate the assignment deadlines. Now if I just quickly go back to this using the VLE section, you can see there's a page, information page about that there. And if you scroll down, it will actually show you what those icons mean and what the different colors mean as well. So you can check that out. Let's go back now to the VLE. So as I said, this is the landing page. And you can see at the top, there are two hamburgers. Hamburgers, I think that's the internet term these days. And this is where you access all the different features. It's worth mentioning that in January this year, we actually launched version 2 of our VLE, which made it mobile responsive. And what that means is that everything adapts to the device that you're actually using. So at full screen here, I'm on a laptop, this is how it will look. But if I make it smaller and smaller, it will start to look as it will on a mobile phone or an iPad or whichever tablet you might be using. But there's nothing that you will not be able to do or to access on a mobile device. And you'll see that these two hamburgers actually go to the top and they go to the right hand side. And if I just open those out again, you can see they space out. There we go. So let's look at the right hand side one. Now this is where you access your course notes or your syllabus, and you'll have access to each week's notes on a weekly basis. So if you're in week 0, which is what you're in at the moment, you'll only have access to the module information and assessments. You won't have access to week 1, but I think from Friday you'll have access to week one's notes. So with this, you can either click on the actual titles here. So for example, if I click on week 1, I'm just going to open that in a new tab. You'll then be presented with the pages here, and then you can click on a page. There's generally always an introduction page. There you go, and that will just give you an overview of what's happening this week, and then you can scroll through. There we go. And you can just scroll through the pages. So that's one way of accessing the course notes from this section. The other way is you can actually click on this little plus button here, and then you can access the pages directly from this section. And this is very useful if you're on a mobile device because you can very quickly access these pages. So likewise, you can just click on a page. Let's do this one starting with logic. There we go, and you can go directly onto that page. if you go back here, you'll see that the page that you're on is highlighted in orange, and these little ticks here indicate the pages that you've already read. So if I go to the next page, starting with Logic 2, you can see there's a tick by that one there. And this little section, this little icon here, this little bookmark, just indicates the last page that you've read. So that's really good if you forget what was the last page that you read when you come back the next day, for example. And finally, another feature are the favourite pages. So say there are some brilliant pages that you like that you just want to make sure that you remember when you come back to the course. Could be in a year's time, whenever. Then you can just mark those as your favourite pages, and then this little button here filters those out, so you can only see the favourite pages. So yeah, that's kind of how that system works. Now let's look at the week that you have access to at the moment, which is the module information and assessments. And the reason that it's there is because we want you to read these pages before your actual module starts.
I'm just answering that one about David.
So let's look at these pages. First of all, we've got the module narrative. Don't be put off with some of the terminology. This is the kind of higher education world terminology, and you'll see in the essential program information you can download the program handbook where you'll see all the module narratives for all the modules in a particular program. But what this does is just give you an overview of what the aims of this particular module are, what the learning outcomes are, and how it's being assessed. So if there are whatever the assignment components are, it tells you what they are and how they're weighted. So all these modules have learning outcomes, and it's really good for you to read through those to first of all get an idea of what you're going to be studying, but also how you're going to be assessed as well, because the assignments are directly assessing these learning outcomes. So please have a good read of those. And you'll see as well the two different components here. You'll see which learning outcomes are being assessed by which component. If you are on an accredited course, say for example you're on a 3-year BA, you'll see here the different levels that you're on. So there's level 4, level 5 and level 6, and this will just give you an idea of whichever module you're on, what level it is. And you can actually download that. You can laminate it, you can put it on your wall, on a clipboard, corkboard. What else could you do? You could make some wallpaper out of it, whatever you want to do. Recommended reading list. So I know you all love reading. This is giving you some pointers of books that will help you, will embellish your study and you can read alongside your module. There's also some links where relevant to some online resources as well, so some websites. We're trying to update this all the time, so please make use of that. Next, we've actually got the assignment briefs. So I thoroughly recommend you read these through at the start of every module, because this will give you an idea of what is to come. And it's also important that you look at when the hand-in deadlines are as well. I did mention earlier there's an assessment planner which is going to be going up in the next day or so. That will help you. But you can see here there are 2 components for this module, and assignment component 1 has a deadline of week 9. So you've got a bit of time to do that, but you can see that you need to compose an original piece of music. So it may be that you can start thinking about that and what is involved in that. Even though you won't have studied necessarily the content to enable you to do it, it's good for you to be thinking about, because you don't want to be leaving it until week 9 to start on your track. You want to be thinking about it and making a start as you progress through the module. Assessment component 2 is writing an essay. This is a written commentary, and if you look here, the deadline is week 5. So this actually has an earlier deadline, so you will need to start thinking about this quite early on in your module. The reason that we stagger these deadlines is so that you don't have too much, especially if you're on a BA and you're studying 2 or 3 modules all at the same term. You're going to have a lot of work to submit in week 9 or sometimes week 10. So we want you to be kind of working on your assignments as you progress through the module. I'm just going to flip back here because we have a print page facility. We're very environmentally friendly here at Point Blank, so we want to avoid you printing out any of this onto paper. But the next best thing is to actually save this as a PDF. It may be that you want to, I don't know, transfer it to your iPad or something, or another device, and have it in more of a sort of page format. So if we go to the left-hand VLE tools section here, which I'll be going through in more detail in a minute, you'll see at the bottom there's a print section, and you can do save this week as a PDF. And you can click on that and it will collate all those pages into a single PDF, and then you can save that for use later. You can also, if you just wanted to print a page, you can just print a page as well, and you can print that. So that leads me nicely into, in fact, I'm just going to have a quick pause and just see if there's any questions. Is there anything that's come up?
A few bits, but
we filmed them mostly.
Right, okay. And what I'm going to do is just kind of flip back actually to the using the VLE section. And that does lead me nicely into the left-hand hamburger menu item, because we can go through those sections. So yeah, in the VLE tools, you can see there's information about this, and it lists out what all these different items are. But let's have a look for ourselves. So the schedule, I showed you that before, that's the landing page. So that's where you have your calendar and you get your notifications, and you can see all those things. The next one are assignments. So you can see, because this is like a sort of dummy module really, it's not one that was live, but this is where you can actually submit your assignments. So you can see here that there'll be a please submit your assignment here. In fact, let me just go on to a new course, because that might look slightly different. Let's go to one that's starting. Let's go to Art of Mixing. And let's just see what that looks like. Okay, that hasn't got any assignments here anyway. But anyway, please refer to using the VLE. But this is where you'll submit your assignments and also receive your grades as well. So when that comes up, when it's an actual live course, you'll see how that works. In fact, let me just quickly see if I can look at one from last term and see if that looks any better. Let's have a look at that one. Assignments. Okay, yeah, so it does say please submit your assignment here. There we go. And what that does is it goes to the relevant week. So you're not able to submit that until you get to the week where the deadline is, and this is where you'll actually be able to assign it. Now you can see this is actually overdue on this one. So let's, in that case, go to a module from this term. Courses, let's go to, yeah, it's difficult because it's the way the system is that it only allows you to upload an assignment when in that particular week. So just take my word for it that that's where you access your assignments. I've showed you how you can actually view the assignment brief, but when it comes to submitting your assignment, this is where you go. So that's that one. Announcements. So this is where either your instructor or a member of the program admin team or anyone from the office, maybe there'll be an opportunity that comes up. This is where they'll post. It's a one-way process. So as long as you've got your notifications on, you'll get an email notification about this. And let's have a look at an example. So here we've got one from Ollie. Ollie Lloyd, you'll become familiar with him. He's in the program administration team, and he has posted about IMS College Malta, which was something that I was involved at the weekend. I went out to Malta, it was very nice, and did a deconstruction. And if you'd got that notification, you would have seen that you would have got free entry. So that's why it's very important to be checking out the announcements. I'm just going to go back to that section. There we go. And as I mentioned, it's a one-way process. So it's not like a thread that you can reply to that. But if you did want to carry on or create a discussion about that, then you can go to the forum section, which is just down here. I'm just skipping a few items on the list, but let's go to the forum section. Now this is an area where you can post, or your instructor might post, and you can actually engage with your fellow classmates and for a discussion on anything. You can also upload to it as well. So let's just have a look here. This is looks like it was originally posted by David Stone, who's the instructor, and he's posted something here about the week 2 masterclass, and a student has asked a question, and then David's replied. So all you have to do is just reply there in this little box, and then you can, if you did want to upload something, you can upload there. Okay, so that's the forum. We're getting through this. So one-to-one tutorials. Now, again, this isn't showing exactly how it will look, but so your one-to-one tutorials are carried out over Skype. So it's important that you have Skype installed. They happen in week 2, 4, 6, 8 and 11. And the week before the one-to-one week, so in weeks 1, 3, 5, 7 and 10, your instructor will propose a series of time slots. And you'll see those on this page here. And it's up to you to go in there and book the slot that you want. He or she, whoever the instructor is, should propose slots that should cater for all time zones, so there'll be more than enough time slots available. Obviously you can only book one time slot, but it's done on a first come first served basis, so the instructor should do that in the week before. So as soon as you see that, please go in there and book your slot and make the most of the one-to-ones. It's a student-led thing, the one-to-one, so it's in your interest to do it, and it's up to you. You can really use it for whatever you want. So you could, for example, discuss the assignment and any issues that you might be having with the assignment. You could want to talk about a project you're working on, and in which case you can actually upload your project ahead of the tutorial. Make sure that it's at least 48 hours ahead, so your instructor's got time to download it. But if there was a project that you're working on that you wanted your instructor to look at, this is the opportunity to do that. It could just be you want to have a chat for 20 minutes and you want to talk about your career and how you see yourself in the music industry, and just get any kind of tips. So please do make use of that. And they're recorded as well. So your instructor, you'll be calling your instructor, but your instructor will be recording that session and then they'll upload that back to you afterwards. So let's see if we can go into a past class and just see if we can see what that looks like. So when you actually go to the course notes, so it's just waiting here, there we go. So let's go to a past one, let's go to music composition. So let's just go to week 2 here, and you'll see that there's a page here, one-to-one live tutorial. And this is actually the page that you'll be uploading your work, or you can leave a comment to ahead of your one-to-one. There we go. Actually, because I'm logged in as a student, I can't see that. Let's see if I can log in. Just going to open up this. I'm going to log in as myself, and we should be able to see what some of those one-to-ones look like. Okay, let's go to there. This looks slightly different here because I'm an admin, so it will look slightly different. So let's go to music industry from last term, and let's go to the one-to-one page. There we go. Okay, so these, you'll now be able to see all the students who have basically, they haven't actually left any comment, but this is where they can access their one-to-ones. And they can also, once the one-to-ones have happened, you'll see that the instructor, this is Jen, has uploaded that back to you, the student. So you can download that and watch it back. It's an MP4, I think, or a MOV file. And actually, while we're here, let's see if we can look at what the assignments will look like. There we go. So this is sort of how it will look like, a bit more how it will look like for you. Great, so that's the one-to-ones. And again, there is information on the using the VLE section about that. Let's just open that up. This is actually, we've kind of skipped some of this now because in the interaction section, there's information about the one-to-ones there. In fact, let me just show that to you. There we go. So there's a short introduction video on how that works. And there's even an example of what of the one-to-one. So this, if you're in any doubt, please watch this back because this will be, or refer back to this because it will show you exactly how it works. Okay, let's go back to this again and just keep looking at the VLE tools menu and talk about the masterclasses. So in week 1, which will be next week for you guys, your instructor will basically propose some times for the masterclass. Now this is a sort of democratic voting process. Obviously we understand that students on our online courses are spread all over the world, so it's difficult to get one time that's mutually convenient for everyone. So that's why we have a voting process, and your instructor will propose a series of times, and whichever is the most popular time slot, that will be set as your masterclass time. So please vote and watch out for that in the first couple of days, Monday or Tuesday. Generally the masterclasses are towards the end of the week, but once the voting is finished, then the instructor will set that time, and then that will be the time of the masterclass, and you should get a notification, or you should be able to see when that masterclass is going to be. And all you do is you just go to the masterclasses section here, and then you click on the live masterclasses button, and then you'll see the masterclass taking place here, and there'll be a little chat window, just a bit like the thing you're experiencing at the moment with YouTube, so you can interact with your instructor, ask them questions, and watch it back. And then as soon as it's finished, the masterclass, it will be archived and uploaded to the class. So you'll just need to go back to the masterclass section, and then you can see some of the previous masterclasses here. So let's go back and look at one. This is from August. There we go. Let's have a look at this one. There we go. So this is the instructor. This is Dave Stone. And you can download that as well, and you can watch it back. So don't worry too much if you do miss your masterclass, because you can watch it back. And generally what happens in the forum is your instructor will post a thread before the masterclass asking the students if they've got any questions, anything they want to cover in the masterclass. So if there was any reason that you couldn't attend it, but you wanted to have something addressed, or one of your concerns, and you wanted to have that included in the masterclass, then please use the forum for that, because your instructor will be checking that and they'll be able to include that in the masterclass. So that's very important. So where are we? They're the two main things. We've got the messages section. So this is a way of you interacting directly with your classmates. There we go. You can actually send a bulk message to all of them, or just your instructor, and they'll receive that. So it's a way of kind of bypassing the need for emails. We have a thing called GDPR here. I know you've probably heard of it. So we're not able to give out the email addresses of all our students, but this is a way of an internal messaging system that if you did want to message someone privately, you could do that. And I've covered the forum. And then, yeah, finally the class list. So you can see there's this familiar plus button, which actually opens up and allows you to see all the students here. You can see students that are actually currently online and in the classroom are denoted with a little green icon. And then you can also click on the class list there. And you'll see your instructor at the top. And you can see when it comes to one-to-one, you can just click on that icon, and as long as you've got Skype installed, which you'll need to have installed, that will actually call your instructor for you. But you can get a good idea of the fellow students in the class and where they're from, where they are from around the world. So please interact with your classmates, with your peers as much as possible. We know that this is distance learning, this is online, but we really want to recreate as much as possible what it's like to study at Point Blank and be in a classroom, and you will really you'll get a lot more from it if you do that. Share your music, discuss stuff, just please use it as much as possible. And I should mention there is another forum as well. Point Blank has its own social network called Plugged In, and if you're a Point Blank student, you won't have to register. You can actually log in with your Point Blank details. So please go on to that. The thing about this is it's not just restricted to Point Blank students. It's available for general public. So it's a great way to get your music out there and to interact. There's a lot of competitions that come through that as well. So please check that out. So, are there any questions? I'm sure you guys have been busy.
We fielded most of them.
I've got one.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm going to just have a scan through, just take a little breather, take a little scan through my notes just to make sure that I haven't missed anything out.
I was just actually thinking how comprehensive that has you've gone through.
Trying to go through it all. What I will mention is the record label, and I'm going to let's just refresh this. So if we go to back to the essential program information, and you as a student, get your music heard. So this is where you can find out information about our record label, Point Blank Recordings. This is a serious label. We've had 2 main releases so far, but I know the guys in the label team are looking for tracks to release. So please, if you do feel that you've got a track that you would like to submit, there's an email address here, hello@pointblankrecordings.com. And if you click here, there's some information about the label. So this is, you can see the previous releases here as well. So please go and check that out. I'm just having another look to see if there's anything else. Oh yes, okay. So there's another thing I didn't mention, which is quite useful. So in the forum section, you can actually post SoundCloud links as well. So if I wanted to create a new thread, you can actually post a SoundCloud link. And if I go back to using the VLE section, they can find some information about that. So let's just have a look to see what it is. Could be in introducing. There we go, uploading SoundCloud tracks in the forum. So this is in the introducing the VLE section of the using the VLE section. And it just tells you how to do that. You've basically just got to kind of copy and paste this little bit of code here. There you go. And put your SoundCloud link in between that. And then when you actually submit your post, it will then come up as a SoundCloud link. So that's very, very useful. I'm just going to quickly shoot back to the assignments because these are so important. Let's go back to here. So, as I showed you before in week 0 in the module information and assessments, you've got your assignment briefs. And just looking at the layout of these, so you'll see the assignment title. A summative means that it's a graded assignment. I suppose the opposite of summative is formative. That's where it's an assignment, but it's not graded. It doesn't go towards your final grade. You think of it as an exercise, but it is to help you with your final graded summative assignment. The deadline, you can see what percentage weighting of this particular component is of your overall grade. So this is 70%, obviously the other one will be 30%. This is the brief. These are the learning outcomes that you're being assessed on. And then very, very, very important here is your submission checklist. So what we don't want to happen is for you to have done an amazing assignment, but then forgotten to upload something. And a classic example would be to submit a logic project or an Ableton project, but forget the samples. So the logic, when the instructor opens up your work, they can't evidence properly or successfully the work that you've done. And that will effectively go against you, and you could be marked down for that. You'll be marked down on your presentation. So it's really, really important that you do that. And we have some information here. There's a link to export methods and exactly how to submit your work and optimize your project as well. There's a link here. I'll just load that up. That goes to a link in the Using the VLE section, so you can find out some information about that. And then also going down here, just below the submission checklist, you've got your assessment grading criteria. And there are 2 links here. So for every single component, there is an assessment grading criteria grid, otherwise known as a rubric, or as a Stanley, as Ben and our team likes to call it, Stanley rubric. It's very funny. So if we click on this, you will see how every single component, how every single learning outcome in the component is marked. And your instructor will use this as a basis to mark your work. So this is transparent. It's for you and your instructor to see. So as I said, there'll be one of those for every single assignment component. So yeah, please check that out. And there's also information on exactly how your grade is calculated. Very important to know that you need to pass, in order to successfully pass your module, i.e. get over 40%, you need to pass every single learning outcome and also both components as well. So that's very, very important. And I think that this is a good point to show you a video from Maddie, who used to be on our program administration team, who made a video about the assessment process. Just want to check there's any more questions at all?
We've had a few about modules that use both Ableton and Logic.
Right.
And we also just had a question about whether or not a student will be able to focus on the music that they like. I've said yes.
Completely.
To empower you to be making the music you want to make, but we do want to challenge your ear.
Yeah.
We do want to broaden your musical horizons, and hopefully all of that's going to inspire you to make the music, more of the music you want to make.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely, I completely agree. And yeah, just if there's anything to add to that, it's just that all our instructors are incredibly open-minded and work in a number of different fields, and they'll certainly take on board any interest or genre that, you know, of music that you're into. And I would say that's where the one-to-ones are really useful, because that's completely student-led, and you know, they can tailor those to your needs. Just make sure that if there is anything you want to discuss, you put that onto the one-to-one page. So post a comment or upload some work so that your instructor's got a good amount of time to listen to that. They might want to bring in some references to help you with that. So just make sure you do that.
Great.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to just show you this video and then I'll see you on the other side of that. If there's any sort of final questions, we're sort of coming to the end of this now, so it is an opportunity to think of any questions that you might have. But yeah, let's look at this video from Maddie and I'll see you on the other side. Here we go.
Hello, my name is Maddie and I'm part of the education team here at Point Blank Music School. I work alongside Bryony Black and we are here to help and support students throughout their studies. Any questions you might have about your studies, assignments, courses, or the school or anything else, please do get in contact. Students at Point Blank have a choice of which pathway they would like to take. You should know which pathway you're on by now. If you are studying one of our accredited courses that are validated by Middlesex University, it is essential that you engage and pass all modules each term. If you do not pass, you will not be able to progress in your studies. Students who decide to study one of our practical courses are highly encouraged to submit work to gain valuable feedback from our instructors. If you are a Middlesex accredited student, your engagement levels are tracked weekly. This means each week on a Friday, we track your engagement for 2 weeks prior. So in week 3, I am tracking week 1. I look at how many pages of the course content you are opening and your one-to-one attendance. If a student starts to fall behind, you will receive an email to let you know. It is so important that you set aside enough time each week to read through the course content and stay engaged in the course. This is because if you fail a module, you will need to resit the whole term, incurring you a cost. This is all stated in our resubmission summary that you can find on the VLE. If you are a practical student, again it is super important that you engage. You do have access to the course notes for another 2 years after your module is finished, but you will not be able to gain feedback or support from your instructor when the module has finished. On the screen you can see the 3 different levels that make up the full BA degree. If you are studying a full BA degree, your level 4 modules do not go towards your final grade, but you must pass all assignments. It is a combination of level 5 and level 6. If you are studying a Cert HE or a Dip HE, all of your grades count towards your final overall grade. All other modules that Point Blank offer are professional modules and are not accredited by Middlesex University. First of all, I would highly advise that you all have a look at the module information and assessment section in each module. This can be found on the right-hand drop-down menu for each of your modules. This will tell you how many components you have to complete for said module and when these are due in. We highly advise that you read the brief thoroughly so you do not miss anything and can achieve amazing grades. Weeks 1 to 9 are your teaching weeks. This is where we expect all students to attend their one-to-one sessions, read through the course content and watch the masterclasses. Sunday of week 9 is your deadline day. Some deadlines are in week 10, but this is only for a few modules. We encourage all students to submit work with plenty of time. In the off chance that something goes wrong with your submission, please send the education team your completed assignment and evidence that you tried to submit. Please note, some modules also have assignments earlier in the term. Anyone who misses this deadline will have to resubmit in week 11, but this grade will be capped at 40%. If you have failed, your grade will automatically be released by the VLE, so you know that you have to resubmit your assignment in week 11. In week 12, after the assessment board, we will release the grades to everyone. If you have any problems, whether academic or personal, please do get in contact with us. If you need extra support, we can always try and help you. If anything gets in the way of your studies, you always have options and we are happy to help. It does depend on you getting in contact with us and communicating. The earlier you express any concerns you have, the better. Becoming a student rep is a great way to become more involved in the school and be able to get the student voice heard. We do not ask for much of your time, approximately an extra 5 hours per term. You will attend board of study meeting each term to present the feedback for students on your course. The online reps have been doing an amazing job so far, but we need more reps to get good overall view. From your feedback, we make changes and developments, and you as a rep will get to know your classmates much better and much quicker. If you are interested or have any questions, please do get in contact. It is so important that you stay communicated with us. Please make sure that your email is kept up to date in your profile so we are sure that you are receiving our correspondence. We post into each of your modules, so please check that you have your notifications switched on the VLE. The forum is a great place to speak with your instructor and classmates, and we highly advise you start using this straight away. Masterclasses are also a great way to get information, as your instructor will be going through vital information about your assignments. Your instructors should be your first contact. If they cannot help or do not know the answer, then please get in contact with me and I will be able to point you in the right direction. Any other questions, please contact support@pointblankmusicschool.com.
There we go. Thank you, Maddie. And yeah, we have Ollie and Bryony in the program admin team, so they're there to help you. I'm going to make this a bit bigger. There we go. So we can see everyone. There we go. Chris, do you want to say hello?
Hello.
Fantastic. So yeah, thanks to Chris and Graham for manning the chat. I think we've covered pretty much everything. The reason we do this is just to kind of reinforce the information and the help that we've actually got on our, on the study essentials and using the VLE section. So there should be enough there for you to go back on and to check. As I said at the start, we'll be uploading this to the start of the using the VLE section, so you can watch this back. But yeah, as ever, any other questions, please email support or any of those, use any of those email addresses that we showed you at the end of that video. And I think that's time for us to sign out. Amazingly, that's pretty much exactly an hour.
Incredible.
Yeah. How do we do it? Wow. Incredible. Yes, that's right. Thank you very much for listening and watching. And all I like to say is just have a fantastic time learning at Point Blank. And I'll catch you very soon. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.